Picture this, December 1987, Gaza's Jabalia camp. A Palestinian teen hurls a stone at an Israeli tank, sparking the First Intifada, a 5-year uprising of defiance and sacrifice. The Oslo Accords bring fleeting hope, yet violence from Hamas, settlers, and a single assassin's bullet threaten peace. Welcome to Chapter 7, where stones meet tanks, dreams clash with reality, and a land's cry for freedom echoes worldwide. Welcome to the deep chapter. Now let's dive in.
The Fire of Stones, 1987, 1988. A land ready to burn. December 1987, the occupied territories of Gaza and the West Bank. The air hums with tension. The streets of refugee camps and cities taut with the weight of 20 years under Israeli occupation. Checkpoints strangle daily life, settlements carve away Palestinian land. In the dreams of 1948's exiles linger like ghosts. In Gaza's Jabalia camp, a spark is about to ignite a rebellion, an uprising of stones, of voices, of a people refusing to be silenced. Across the Green Line, Israeli soldiers brace for unrest, while the world, caught in the fading Cold War, turns its gaze to a land on the brink. This is the story of the First Intifada's dawn, a revolution born from despair where ordinary lives became extraordinary acts of defiance. The spark ignites in Jabalia camp, Gaza, December 8, 1987. The sun blisters the cramped alleys of Jabalia refugee camp, where 60,000 Palestinians live in a square mile of concrete shacks and narrow paths. Amina, 18, weaves through the market. Her basket heavy with wilted vegetables bought with coins scraped from odd jobs. Her brother, Khaled, 16, trails behind, his school bag slung low. Their family, displaced from Jaffa in 1948, lives in a 2-room home, its walls plastered with photos of a lost orchard. One day, we'll go back, their mother Fatima says daily, clutching a faded house key. A sudden screech shatters the morning humming. Israeli military jeep collides with a Palestinian truck at the camp's edge, killing 4 workers per UN reports. The news races through Jabalia like a spark on dry grass. They murdered them. A vendor shouts, his voice raw. Amina and Khaled join a swelling crowd, their hearts pounding. Boy barely 12 hurls a stone, cracking the jeep's windshield. Soldiers fire tear gas, the acrid fog burning Amina's lungs. Then, live rounds echo for Palestinians fall, blood staining the dust. Khaled grabs a rock, his eyes fierce. "No more," he whispers, throwing it with a cry. Amina, trembling, joins him, her basket forgotten. By dusk, Jabalia is a cauldron of defiance. Burning tires send black smoke spiraling, and chants of freedom, Palestine, rise from every corner. Amina helps build a barricade, her hands smudged with soot. "This is our Intifada shaking off their chains," Khaled says, the word electric. The uprising spreads to Gaza City, then Ramallah and Nablus, as 1.3 million Palestinians, per UNRWA, rise against occupation's daily grind checkpoints, curfews, and land seizures for 100 settlements housing 80,000 Israelis, per Batzalel. Israel's response takes shape. Jerusalem, Israel, December 9, 1987. In a stark IDF command post in Jerusalem, Captain Rachel Levi, 35, a logistics officer who served in Lebanon in 1982, scans reports of Gaza's riots. Her radio crackles with updates. 200 clashes in 24 hours, per IDF logs. "This isn't just a riot," she tells her deputy Eli. "It's a rebellion." Prime Minister Yitzhak Shamir, in a tense Knesset meeting, slams his fist. "Crush it now," he orders, per cabinet minutes. Defense Minister Yitzhak Rabin, his face grim, issues a directive. "Force, might, beatings," he says, a policy later documented by Horitz that will define Israel's response. Rachel is sent to Gaza, her jeep rumbling through Jabalia's smoke-choked streets. Her unit faces a barrage of stones from Yutha Shababsam, younger than her son. A rock grazes her arm and she orders rubber bullets fired, the thud of impact echoing as a girl, Amina's age, falls. "They're civilians," Eli mutters, his rifle lowered. Rachel, her stomach churning, replies, "They're fighting like soldiers." By January 1988, 100 Palestinians are dead, per Botslam, and 5,000 wounded, But the Intifada grows, with strikes closing 40% of businesses, costing Israel $200 million, per economic reports. In Tel Aviv, Rachel's cousin, Sarah, 40, a journalist for Yediot Aharonot, watches TV footage of the clashes, her pen trembling. "This is changing us," she tells her editor, drafting a piece on the uprising's toll. Public opinion shifts. 60% of Israelis favor talks by 1988. Per polls, but Shamir's Likud government doubles down, deploying 10,000 troops to the territories. The Palestinian Heart of Resistance, Nablus West Bank, January 1988. In Nablus, Layla, 35, a nurse and former Fatah activist exiled after 1982, returns from Jordan to join the uprising. Her clinic, a cramped room in a refugee camp, treats stone throwers with broken limbs and tear gas burns. "This is our Intifada," she tells her colleague, Nur, stitching a boy's wound. The Unified National Leadership, UNLU, a coalition of PLO factions, forms in January 1988, issuing leaflet "No One Strike." Boycott their goods? Layla smuggles copies through Nablus's souk, her heart racing as IDF patrols pass. Her son Tarek, 14, joins the Shabab, his slingshot a badge of defiance. "I'm fighting for our home," he says, showing Layla a stone painted with Palestine's flag. She hesitates, fear battling pride. "Stay alive," she whispers, hugging him. Women's committees, 100 strong across the territories, bake bread, run clinics, and organize protests. Layla leads a march, 1,000 women chanting, "No occupation." The boycott of Israeli goods, 30% of shops closed, costs Israel $500 million by March per analysts. The Intifada's grassroots power unites Palestinians. In Ramallah, Layla meets a teacher, Maryam, who runs underground classes after IDF school closures. "Education is our weapon," Maryam says, teaching Darwish's poetry by candlelight. TV crews from BBC and CNN capture the uprising stones versus tanks beaming images to a world rethinking Palestine. The rise of Hamas and internal tensions. Gaza City, Gaza, April 1988. In Gaza City's al-Shadi camp, Khalid, now 17, attends a mosque rally led by Sheikh Ahmed Yassin, founder of Hamas, formed in 1987. The air smells of incense and resolve as Yassin preaches. Islam will free Palestine, rejecting the PLO's secularism. Khalid, drawn by the call, joins Hamas's youth wing, his slingshot swapped for a knife. "They're stronger than Fatah," he tells Amina, who frowns. "We need unity, not division," she says, loyal to the PLO, Hamas's charter. Published in 1988, calls for Islamic rule and Israel's destruction, per translations. By April, Hamas kidnaps an Israeli soldier near Khan Yunis, demanding 1,000 prisoners freed, per Haaretz. Israel's response a raid killing 50 in Gaza leaves al-Shati in ruins. Khalid escapes, but Amina finds him in a clinic, his leg bandaged. "This is our fight," he insists, but Amina sees the cost: 300 Palestinian deaths by August, per Batslam. In Tunis, the PLO's Layla hears of Hamas's rise. "They'll fracture us," she tells her comrade, Ahmad, coordinating funds for UNLU. The PLO smuggles $10 million in weapons, per declassified reports. But Hamas's grassroots, appeal mosques, charities grows. "We're all fighting for Palestine," Ahmad says, but Layla worries, at what price the global awakening? Washington, D.C., June 1988. In a State Department office, diplomat Susan Carter watches CNN footage of a Palestinian girl facing an IDF tank, her keffiyeh bright against the gray. "This is a turning point," she tells colleagues, per memos. The Intifada's images shift us opinion. 50% sympathize with Palestinians, per Gallup polls. Congress debates Israel's $3 billion aid, with Senator Patrick Leahy demanding accountability. Secretary of State George Shultz meets Shamir in Jerusalem, urging talks. "The status quo is crumbling," Shultz says. Shamir, defiant, replies, "We'll secure our land." In December 1988, Yasser Arafat, in Geneva, renounces terrorism, opening U.S. PLO dialogue, per UN transcripts. Layla in Tunis listens on a crackling radio. "The world sees us," she tells Ahmad, her voice trembling with hope. The UN General Assembly passes Resolution 43-177, recognizing Palestinian self-determination, though U.S. vetoes block enforcement. In Nablus, Layla's clinic treats 100 wounded in a week, as IDF curfews lock down the city. Tarek, her son, returns from a protest, his face bruised. "I threw a stone for you," he says. Allah hugs him, whispering, "Live for Palestine." The Intifada's toll, 5,000 wounded, 20,000 arrested mounts. But its spirit spreads, with European protests and UN debates amplifying the Palestinian cause. A fire that burns on. By December 1988, the First Intifada has claimed 300 Palestinian lives and 12 Israeli. With 5,000 wounded and 20,000 arrested, per Batslam, Israel's economy reels, losing $2 billion to strikes and boycotts. The PLO, revitalized, balances militancy with diplomacy, while Hamas's rise signals new divides. Rachel, in Jerusalem, joins a Peace Now march, her uniform traded for a petition, End the Occupation. Khaled, in hiding, sharpens his slingshot, vowing to fight. Amina in Joblia helps rebuild a shattered clinic, her hope unbroken. Layla in Nablus stitches wounds, dreaming of a free Palestine. The Intifada, a revolution of stones and spirit, shakes Israel's occupation, uniting Palestinians and forcing the world to see their struggle. From Jabalia's spark to a global awakening, it's a cry for freedom in a land where hope battles despair. This is a story of defiance, sacrifice, and a people refusing to be erased. Iron Fists and Unbroken Spirits, 1988 to 1990. Prologue. A Fire That Grows. The Occupied Territories, 1988. The First Intifada. Sparked in Gaza's Jabalia camp, has spread like wildfire across the West Bank and Gaza. Its flames fueled by stones, strikes, and a generation's defiance. Palestinians, weary of 20 years under Israeli occupation, wield slingshots and boycotts, their cry for freedom echoing globally. Israel, shaken by the uprising's intensity, tightens its grip, deploying troops and curfews to quell the unrest. As the Cold War fades, the world watches, its cameras capturing a struggle that pits youth against tanks. This is the story of Israel's iron-fisted response and the Palestinian resilience that met a tale of escalating conflict. Fractured hopes, in a land where every stone thrown carries the weight of a nation's dream, the Iron Fist descends. Hebron, West Bank, January 1988. The ancient city of Hebron hums with tension, its narrow streets lined with shuttered shops under a general strike called by the Unified National Leadership, UNLU. Noor, 19, a university student, slips through an alley, her scarf shielding her face from tear gas. Her family, displaced from Jaffa in 1948, lives in a cramped home near the Ibrahimi Mosque. We're settlers now, 7,000 in Hebron alone, per Batslam patrol with rifles. They take our land, our lives, Noor whispers to her cousin Sami, 17, as they join a protest of 500 stones in hand. Across the city, Lieutenant David Klein, 32, an IDF officer who fought in Lebanon, leads a patrol. His radio crackles with orders from Defense Minister Yitzhak Rabin. Break their bones, a policy documented by Horitz aimed at crushing the Intifada. As Noor's group chants freedom and hurls rocks, David's unit fires rubber bullets and tear gas. A stone grazes his shoulder, and he orders live rounds, wounding 3 protesters, per UN reports. Noor, dodging gas, helps a bleeding Sami to safety. "They can't stop us," she gasps, her eyes burning. By March 1988, Hebron is under curfew, one of 40 imposed across the territories, confining 1.3 million Palestinians per UNWA. The IDF arrests 10,000 in raids, per Amnesty International, filling detention centers. Noor's brother Tariq, 20, is detained, his fate unknown. "He threw stones for us," Noor tells her mother, Amal, who clutches a photo of Tariq. The Intifada's toll rises, 200 Palestinians dead. 3,000 wounded by April, per Batslemba. The uprising persists, with strikes costing Israel $500 million in trade, per economic analysts. Jerusalem, Israel, February 1988. In a Jerusalem command center, David briefs his commander, Colonel Miriam Stern, on Hebron's unrest. They're organized, he says, pointing to a map marked with protest sites. Rabin's policy, backed by Prime Minister Yitzhak Shamir, escalates 5,000 more troops deployed, per IDF records. We'll break their will, Miriam says. But David, haunted by Sammy's bloodied face, hesitates. They're fighting for something, he mutters. In Tel Aviv, David's sister, Leah, 38, a lawyer with Peace Now, watches CNN footage of IDF beatings, her heart sinking. This isn't us, she tells her husband, Ezra, drafting a petition for talks. Peace Now rallies, 15,000 strong, demand an end to the occupation, per Yediot Aronot. Polls show 55% of Israelis favor negotiations, a shift from Shamir's hardline stance. Leah meets David at a cafe, her voice urgent. We're losing our soul, she says, handing him a flyer. David Torn nods. I see their faces every night. The Intifada's economic impact deepens tourism drops 35%, costing $300 million per Israel's Central Bureau of Statistics. Shamir, unmoved, tells the Knesset, this is terrorism, not protest, per records. But global criticism mounts. With the UN condemning excessive force in Resolution 605, Palestinian resilience rises. Gaza City, Gaza, May 1988. In Gaza's beach camp, Noor's friend Rania, 34, a nurse, tends to wounded protesters in a makeshift clinic, its shelves bare from Israeli blockades. The Intifada's committees, led by UNLU, coordinate strikes and boycotts, with leaflet No. 15 calling for no taxes to the occupiers. Rania, a mother of 3, organizes women to smuggle food past checkpoints, defying curfews. We're the heart of this fight, she tells Noor, handing her a sack of flour. Rania's son, Omar, 15, joins the Shabab, his slingshot a symbol of defiance. I'm fighting for our home, he says, showing Rania a stone painted with Palestine's flag. She hugs him, fear in her eyes. Stay safe, Habibi. The Intifada's nonviolent tactics boycotts of Israeli goods. School closures forcing underground classes cost Israel $1 billion by mid-1988, per economic reports. UNRWA schools, shut for months, reopen in secret, with teachers like Maryam 30 teaching Darwish's poetry by lamplight. Education is our resistance, Maryam tells her students. Global media swarm Gaza, their cameras capturing Omar's slingshot against tanks. The world sees us, Rania tells Nur, watching a French journalist interview a striker. The Intifada's images shift opinion. 50% of Americans sympathize with Palestinians, per Gallup polls. A stark change from 1987. Nablus, West Bank, June 1988, in Nablus. Nur joins a women's march, 2,000 strong, their keffiyehs bright against the city's ancient stones. No more silence, they chant, waving banned Palestinian flags. Women's committees, now 150 across the territories, per Palestinian records, run clinics, distribute aid and organize protests. Nur helps smuggle UNLU leaflets, her heart racing as IDF jeeps pass. We're unstoppable, she tells Sami, now recovered but limping. The IDF raids Nablus, arresting 500 in one night per Amnesty International. Nur hides in a basement, clutching leaflets calling for a July strike. The boycott cripples Israel's control tax collection drops 60%, per Palestinian sources. Maryam's underground school, hidden in a Nablus mosque, teaches 20 students, their voices reciting history. We are Palestine, Noor inspired, writes a poem. Our stones are our voice. Tunis, Tunisia, July 1988. In Tunis, Yasser Arafat, PLO chairman, meets his council in a dimly lit office. Maps of the territories spread before him. The Intifada is our revolution, he says, per PLO minutes. The PLO, exiled since 1982, smuggles $15 million in funds and AK-47s to UNLU, per declassified reports. Ida, 28, a PLO organizer who fled Lebanon, coordinates aid shipments. The Shabab are our hope, she tells her comrade. Ziad, packing medical supplies. Founded by Sheikh Ahmed Yassin, gains ground, its mosques and charities drawing youth like Omar. Its 1988 charter. Rejecting Israel's existence clashes with the PLO's diplomacy. Aida, loyal to Feda, warns Ziad, Hamas divides us. Hamas's attacks, kidnapping 2 Israeli soldiers by August. Per Haaretz escalate tensions, prompting IDF raids, killing 70 in Gaza. Per Batslam, Aida, reading reports, feels torn. We need unity, she says, but Ziad replies, we need strength, escalation, and division. Hebron, West Bank. September 1988. David leads a raid in Hebron, his unit storming a protest of 1,000. Stones rain down. He orders tear gas. The clouds choking nerves. March. Disperse, David shouts. But the crowd holds firm, women linking arms. A live round fired against orders kills a boy, per UN reports. David, shaken, pulls his men back. This is wrong, he tells Eli, his voice low. The raid arrests 200, but Noor escapes, hiding in a mosque. Hebron's curfew, lasting 30 days, traps families indoors. Noor's mother Amal whispers prayers, fearing for Tariq, still detained. He's alive, Noor insists, though doubt gnaws. The Intifadas toll 400 Palestinians dead. 7,000 wounded by 1988 hardens resolve. Noor joins a nighttime protest, painting Free Palestine on walls, her hands trembling with defiance. Tel Aviv, Israel, October 1988. Leah organizes a peace now rally in Tel Aviv. 20,000 strong, their banners pleading. Stop the violence. At Intifadas toll 15 Israelis dead. 1,200 wounded stirs, on ease. We're becoming what we fought against, Leah tells the crowd, her voice breaking. David on leave joins her, his uniform drawing glares. I can't keep doing this, he admits, signing her petition. Polls show 40% of Israelis support concessions, per Jerusalem Post. But Shamir's government deploys 15,000 troops, per IDF records. The economic strain deepens, $1.5 billion lost to strikes and boycotts by 1988, per analysts. Tourism plummets 40%, and Leah's newspaper reports growing dissent. The Intifada's winning hearts abroad, she tells David, showing him a BBC clip of a Palestinian girl facing soldiers. David, haunted by Hebron, nods. We're losing ours. Gaza, December 1988, in Gaza's Jabalia, Omar attends a Hamas rally, Yassin's voice echoing, Islam is our path. Omar, drawn by Hamas's charity food for his family, joins their attacks, planting a bomb near an IDF post, wounding 3 soldiers, per Haaretz. Israel's response, a raid killing 50, destroys Omar's home. Rania, digging through rubble, finds him alive but bloodied. This is our fight, he gasps. Rania, tearful, replies, live for it, not die. Hamas's rise 10,000 supporters by 1988 challenges the PLO. In Tunis, Aida hears of the raid, her heart sinking. Hamas's violence risks everything, she tells Ziad. The PLO's diplomatic push, with Arafat's Geneva speech renouncing terrorism, opens U.S. talks, per UN records. We're gaining ground, Aida says, but Hamas's bombs threaten unity.
The world watches Washington, D.C. January 1989, U.S. diplomat Susan Carter watches BBC footage of IDF raids, her pen poised over a memo. Today, changing the narrative, she tells colleagues.
Per State Department records, U.S. opinion shifts, 55% sympathize with Palestinians, per Gallup. Senator Patrick Leahy questions Israel's $3 billion aid, citing human rights violations. Susan drafts a proposal for talks, urging Schultz to pressure Shamir. This is a chance for peace, she says. In Jerusalem, Schultz meets Shamir, who rebuffs talks. We'll secure our land. But global pressure grows. In Resolution 43-177, recognizes Palestinian self-determination, though U.S. vetoes block action. Susan, watching Arafat's Geneva speech, feels hope. They're a voice now, she tells an aide, Ramallah, West Bank. March 1989. Rania joins a Ramallah protest. 3,000 strong, waving band flags. The IDF fires tear gas, and Rania helps a wounded girl, her nurse's hands steady. We're still here, she tells Noor, who paints slogans on walls. The Intifada's committees sustain resistance, 200 strikes by 1989. Per Palestinian records, costing Israel $2 billion. Underground schools like Miriam's teach 1,000 students, their voices reciting history. Global media amplified the Intifada. Jazeera's footage of a boy's funeral reaches millions. Rania, seeing a German reporter, says, "Tell them we're fighting for our lives." The world's response protests in London. Paris bolsters Palestinian morale. Gaza, June 1989. Omar, now 16, leads a Hamas attack, throwing a Molotov cocktail at an IDF jeep, wounding 2 soldiers per Haaretz. The reprisal raid kills 60, leveling parts of beach camp. Rania, treating survivors, finds Omar, his arm broken. "I did it for Palestine," he says. Rania, tears falling, replies, "Live for Palestine." The Intifada's toll 600 dead. 10,000 wounded by 1989 hardens Gaza's spirit. In Tunis, Aida coordinates $20 million in plow aid, per declassified reports. Hamas's violence risks our cause, she tells Ziad. But the Intifada's resilience. 1,000 protests by 1989 forces Israel to reckon with its cost, and a struggle deepens. By 1990, the Intifada has killed 700 Palestinians and 20 Israelis. With 15,000 wounded and 30,000 arrested, per Botslam, Israel's economy reels, losing $3 billion, while global condemnation grows. The PLO gains legitimacy, but Hamas's rise divides Palestinians. David in Jerusalem joins Peace Now, vowing no more blood. Noor, in Hebron, paints freedom on a wall, her hope unbroken. Rania, in Gaza, stitches wounds, dreaming of peace. Aida, in Tunis, plans the next step. The Intifada's fire, fueled by stones and sacrifice, challenges Israel's occupation, uniting Palestinians and shifting global opinion. This is a story of iron fists met with unbroken spirits, a people's cry for justice, and a land where hope endures amid escalating conflict. The Gathering Storm, 1957 to 1967, a fragile truce. The Middle East, 1957. The dust from the Suez Crisis has barely settled, but the winds of conflict stir once more. Israel, bolstered by its military prowess, navigates a world of hostile neighbors and internal growth. While Arab states, humiliated yet resolute, rearm and rally under the banner of Pan-Arabism. Palestinian refugees scattered in camps dream of return. Their Fedayeen raids a thorn in Israel's side. The Cold War casts long shadows with superpowers arming sides in a proxy game. This is the story of the road to the six-day Wara, tale of escalating tensions. Border skirmishes, water wars, and a region hurtling toward a confrontation that would redefine its map and destinies. The Shadows of Suez, Tel Aviv, Israel, March 1957. The Mediterranean breeze sweeps through Tel Aviv's cafes, where Captain Avi Cohen, 30, sips coffee with his sister Miriam, 28. The Suez Crisis, just months past, has left Avi with a promotion but a heavy heart is real. A swift victory in Sinai was undone by international pressure, forcing withdrawal under UNEF supervision. "We won the war, but lost the peace," Avi tells Miriam, his uniform crisp, but his eyes weary. Miriam, a teacher in a kibbutz, nods. And the Palestinians? Their raids from Gaza don't stop. Avi glances at a newspaper headline. Fedayeen killed 3 in Negev. "We'll handle it," he says, but doubt lingers. At the Knesset, Prime Minister David Ben-Gurion, 71, meets with his cabinet. The Suez withdrawal has secured navigation through the Strait of Tiran, but Egypt's Nasser, triumphant in defeat, rallies Arab nations against Israel. "We must build strength," Ben-Gurion declares per cabinet minutes. Israel accelerates arms deals with France, acquiring 200 tanks and 100 jets by 1960, per IDF records. The National Water Carrier Project, diverting Jordan River water to the Negev, begins in 1958. A lifeline for agriculture, but a flashpoint with Arabs. Avi is assigned to the Negev guarding water pipelines. "This water is our future," his commander says, as they patrol the arid landscape. But Syrian shelling from the Golan Heights protesting the diversion kills 5 farmers in 1958, per Israeli reports. Avi's unit retaliates, firing back at Syrian positions. "They want to dry us out," Avi mutters to Yossi, his comrade, as smoke rises across the border. Cairo, Egypt, April 1957. In Cairo's bustling streets, Colonel Ahmed Fathi, 34, marches in a parade celebrating Suez's victory. President, charismatic in uniform, waves to crowds chanting his name. "We defeated the imperialists," Nasser declares per Egyptian radio. The crisis has elevated Nasser, with Egypt retaining the canal and gaining Soviet $8,500 million in arms by 1960, per Soviet archives. Ahmed, promoted for Sinai bravery, trains with new MiG-17 jets. "We'll reclaim Sinai," his superior says, studying maps. Nasser's Pan-Arabism inspires the United Arab Republic UAR with Syria in 1958. A short-lived union that boosts Egypt's influence, but exposes divisions. Ahmed visits a Gaza camp, where Palestinian Fedayeen, 2,000 strong, train for raids into Israel. "Your fight is ours," Ahmed tells a fighter, handing him an AK-47. The raids killed 20 Israelis in 1957, per Israeli records, prompting reprisals. Nasser's rhetoric hardens speeches, calling for Arab unity against Israel, echo in Ahmed's barracks. But privately, Nasser tells aides, "War's not yet," per memoirs. The arms race escalates, with Egypt's military growing to 180,000 by 1967. Baka Camp, Jordan, June 1957. In Jordan's Baka refugee camp, Layla Hassan, 22, tends to her mother, displaced from the West Bank in 1948. The camp, housing 50,000 Palestinians, is a sea of tents and hardship. UNRWA rations their lifeline. Layla's brother Halil, 25, joins Fatah, founded by Yasser Arafat in 1959. "We'll fight back." Khalil says training with smuggled rifles. Layla, working in a UN clinic, sees the toll of poverty. Malnutrition claims 10 children monthly, per UNWAL reports. King Hussein, ruling Jordan, views the PLO with suspicion, fearing their growing power. In 1960, Jordan dissolves parliament after PLO-backed candidates win seats. Khalil, arrested in a raid, whispers to Layla, "They fear us more than Israel." Released, he crosses into Israel for a raid, killing 2 soldiers near Beersheba, per Jordanian records. Israel's reprisal bombs the camp, killing 15. Layla, digging through rubble, vows, "Will never stop." Water wars and border flames. Kibbutz, Gesher, Israel, May 1964. The Jordan River's waters sparkle under the sun, but Avi, now 37, knows they're a battleground. Israel's national water carrier, completed in 1964, diverts river water to the Negev, irrigating 100,000 acres. "This is life," Avi tells his son, 10, as they watch pipes fill reservoirs. But Syria, upstream, begins diverting tributaries in 1965, cutting Israel's supply by 35%, per Jordan River Commission reports. Avi joins an airstrike on Syrian dams, destroying equipment. "They won't dry us out," he says, his F-4 Phantom roaring over the Golan. Syria responds with shelling from the heights, killing 7 Israelis in Gesher, per IDF logs. The water war escalates, with 50 clashes by 1967, in Jerusalem. Prime Minister Levi Eshkol, 70, debates with his generals. "We can't let them starve us," Eshkol says, approving more strikes. The cabinet divided fears war, but Dayan, now opposition, calls for action. Avi, flying missions, sees Syrian villages burn. "This isn't victory," he tells Yossi, guilt-weighing. Damascus, Syria, July 1965. In Damascus, General Mustafa Tlous, 33, inspects diversion works on the Jordan's tributaries, a project to deny Israel water. "This is our weapon," he tells engineers, per Syrian records. The Ba'ath Party, ruling since 1963, sees it as defiance. Mustafa, a rising officer, coordinates with Foda, supplying 500 rifles for raids. An Israeli airstrike destroys the dams, killing 20 workers. Mustafa, surveying the wreckage, vows, "They'll pay." Syria shells the Galilee, targeting kibbutzim like Gesher, killing 10 Israelis by 1966. Fatah's raids from Syrian bases, killing 5 in 1965, prompt Israeli reprisals. Mustafa meets Arafat in Damascus, handing him maps. "Hit them hard," he says. The PLO's 1964 charter, calling for armed struggle, aligns with Syria's goals. Internal instability plagues Syria. Coups in 1966 bring Hafez al-Assad to power. Mustafa, loyal to Assad, helps suppress dissent, arresting 200 opponents. Unity for the fight, Assad tells him. The Golan's shelling intensifies, with 100 incidents in 1966, per UN observers. Amman, Jordan, November 1966. In Amman, Captain Omar, 32, patrols near a refugee camp where Fatah recruits train. King Hussein, balancing Palestinian loyalty and U.S. aid, tolerates the PLO but fears their power. They're a state within a state, Hussein tells Omar, per royal memos. In November 1966, Israel raids Samu village in the West Bank, killing 18 Jordanians in reprisal for a photo mine, per Jordanian reports. Omar rushes to Samu, finding rubble and grieving families. They attack civilians, he reports to Hussein. Protests erupt in Amman, 10,000 Palestinians chanting against the king. Hussein cracks down, killing 20, but the PLO's influence grows. With 5,000 fighters in Jordan by 1967, Omar Torn warns, they'll turn on us. Hussein, meeting Arafat, demands restraint. Your fight is with Israel, not me, he says. Arafat smiles. We're allies for now. The escalation to war Gaza, Palestine, May 1967, in Gaza's Shadi camp. Layla 30 helps distribute PLO leaflets amid IDF raids. The occupation's grip 20,000 Palestinians arrested since 1967 fuels anger. Layla's husband, Khalil, a photo fighter, crosses into Israel for a raid, killing 2 soldiers near Ashkelon, per Israeli records. For our return, he tells Layla, kissing her goodbye. The raid provokes Israel's airstrike on Gaza, killing 30 civilians. Layla, pulling a child from rubble, weeps. This is their peace, she says, her resolve hardening. The PLO's armed struggle with 500 raids by 1967 draws Arab support, but Israel's reprisals devastate camps. Cairo, Egypt, May 1967. Ahmed, now 44, stands in Nasser's war room as reports of Israeli troop movements arrive false Soviet intelligence, per declassified files. Nasser mobilizes 100,000 troops in Sinai, demanding UNF withdrawal. Undersecretary General Uthante complies, removing 3,400 peacekeepers. Nasser closes the Strait of Tiran to Israeli shipping on May 22nd, a casus belli for Israel. Ahmed, commanding a Sinai brigade, watches soldiers dig trenches. This will force them to negotiate. Nasser tells his generals, but Ahmed sees the risk. 1,000 tanks are no match for Israel's air force. In Damascus, Mustafa deploys 50,000 troops to the Golan, signing a defense pact with Egypt. War is coming, he tells his men, firing shells into the Galilee. Tel Aviv, Israel, May 1967. Avi 40 sits in a bunker as Eshkol's government debates Nasser's blockade as war, Dayan says, joining the cabinet as defense minister. Eshkol, hesitant, mobilizes 250,000 reservists, the economy grinding to a halt. Avi, recalled, kisses Miriam goodbye. We'll strike first, he says, boarding a transport to Sinai. On June 5, 1967, Israel launches Operation Focus, destroying 400 Arab aircraft in hours. AVZ for bombs Egyptian airfields, the sky alight with explosions. It's over before it starts, he radios. Israel captures Sinai, the West Bank, Jerusalem, and the Golan in 6 days, losing 800, while Arabs lose 15,000 per Morris, a war that changed everything. By June 10th, the war ends. Israel victorious, but burdened with occupation. Avi, in Jerusalem's old city, touches the western wall, tears streaming. We've come home, he tells Yossi, but the weight of governing 1 million Palestinians dawns. Miriam, in Tel Aviv, protests the occupation, her sign reading Land for Peace. In Jordan's Baka camp, Layla weeps for the lost West Bank. Another Nakba, she says, joining Fatah's resistance. In Cairo, Ahmed buries comrades vowing revenge. In Damascus, Mustafa retreats from the Golan, his army broken. The 6-day war, costing 800 Israeli and 15,000 Arab lives, triples Israel's territory, but sows seeds of endless conflict. Settlements begin with 1,000 Israelis in the West Bank by 1970. The PLO's Fedayeen intensify raids. Killing 100 Israelis by 1970, the U.S. boosts aid to $500 million annually. While the Soviet Union arms Arabs with $2 billion, UN Resolution 242 calls for withdrawal, but ambiguity stalls peace. This is a story of swift victory and slow regret. A land conquered but not pacified, and a region forever altered. A handshake of hope, 1992-1993. A flicker in the dark. The Middle East, 1992. The first Intifada, burning for 5 years, has left the occupied territory scarred. 100 Palestinian lives lost, thousands arrested, and Israel's economy battered by boycotts. Yet amid the stones and tear gas, a weary hope emerges. The Cold War's end and the Gulf War's realignment open a window for peace, as the Madrid Conference sets the stage for dialogue. In secret Norwegian backchannels, Israeli and Palestinian negotiators dare to dream of compromise. This is the story of the Oslo Accords, a fragile bridge between enemies. Built on whispered talks and sealed with a handshake, where hope and distrust dance in a land yearning for peace. Seeds of secret talks. Ramallah, West Bank, January 1992. The streets of Ramallah are quiet under a dusk curfew, the air heavy with the scent of olive trees and lingering tear gas. Amal, 24, a journalist for a local paper, slips through an alley, her notebook filled with stories of the Intifadas till 800 Palestinian deaths, 20,000 wounded by 1992, per Bootslam. Her father, Basom 50, a former FOTA activist, sits in their modest home. Listening to a crackling radio report on the Madrid Conference. They're talking Amal, he says, his voice a mix of hope and doubt. But will Israel listen? The Madrid Conference of 1991, brokered by U.S. Secretary of State James Baker, brought Israel and a Palestinian delegation to the table, per State Department records. Though public talks stalled, secret channels opened in Norway, facilitated by diplomat Terje Rud-Larsen. Amal, covering a protest, interviews a PLO delegate, Seb Irakit. We need a real solution, he tells her, eyes weary. Statehood, not promises. Amal scribbles his words, her heart stirred by the possibility of peace. In Tunis, Yasser Arafat, PLO chairman, meets his advisor, Mahmoud Abbas, in a dimly lit office. Norway's neutral, they can host us, Abbas says, per PLO memoirs. Arafat, his keffiyeh-draped, nods. The Intifada's shown our strength. Now we show our will for peace. Amal hears rumors of secret talks, her hope tempered by Hamas's growing attacks and Israeli deaths in 1992, per Horitz. Can words stop stones? She asks Basim, who sighs. Maybe if they're honest. Jerusalem, Israel, February 1992. In Jerusalem's Old City, Lieutenant Noah Feldman, 29, an IDF intelligence officer, patrols near the Damascus Gate, her rifle heavy. The Intifadas, persistence 2,500 protests since 1987, has strained Israel, costing $3 billion per economic reports. Noah, who lost a friend to a Hamas bombing, scans reports of PLO talks in Norway. They're negotiating behind our backs, she tells her captain, Gideon. Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin, elected in 1992 on a peace platform, authorizes the secret talks per Israeli records. We need an endgame, Rabin tells his aide, Yossi Belen. Noah's brother Daniel, 35, a Labor Party activist, attends a Peace Now rally, 20,000 strong. The occupation's bleeding us dry, he tells Noah at a cafe, his voice urgent. Rabin's our chance. Noah, skeptical, replies, the PLO's still arming fighters. Yet Rabin's election, with 44% of the vote, per Israeli polls, shifts policy's 60% of Israelis support talks, per Yedia Taronit. Noah, reading Balin's memo on Norway, wonders, can we trust them? In Oslo, Israeli negotiators Uri Saver and Ron Pundak meet PLO's Ahmed Kure in a secluded villa, per Larsen's accounts. Mutual recognition is the key, Kure says, offering a Palestinian Authority PA for limited self-rule. Saver cautious replies, security first. The talks, shrouded in secrecy, lay the groundwork for Oslo I crafting the accords. Oslo, Norway, May 1993. Snowdust's the Oslo villa, its fireplace crackling as Curé and Saver huddle over maps. A mall in Ramallah. Here's whispers of progress from a PLO contact. They're talking statehood, he tells her, eyes bright. The Oslo Accords, drafted in 20 secret sessions per Norwegian records, propose mutual recognition, PA creation, and phased Israeli withdrawal from Gaza and Jericho. This is our chance, Curé tells Abbas in Tunis, per memoirs. Arafat agrees, signing a letter recognizing Israel's right to exist, per Oslo documents. In Jerusalem, Rabin briefs his cabinet, facing Likud's fury. This is surrender, Ariel Sharon roars, per Knesset records. Rabin resolute says, we fight wars to end them. Noah, guarding a West Bank checkpoint, hears of the talks on IDF radio. Peace with Arafat, she scoffs to Gideon. He's still funding bombs. Hamas's attacks 15 Israeli deaths in 1993 fuel her doubt. But Rabin's approval, backed by 70% of Israelis, per polls, pushes forward. Amal covers a Ramallah rally, 5,000 strong, chanting for statehood. Oslo could free us, she tells Bassem. But Hamas's leaflets distributed in mosques reject the talks. No compromise with occupiers, they read, per translations. Amal Torn writes, hope battles fear in our hearts. Gaza City, Gaza, June 1993. In Gaza's Jobila camp, Khalil 22, a Hamas fighter, attends a rally led by Sheikh Ahmed Yassin. Oslo's a betrayal. Yassin preaches, per Haaretz. His 10,000 chant against the plow. Khalil, whose brother died in an IDF raid, plants a bomb near an Israeli post, wounding 3 soldiers. This is our jihad, he tells his friend, Omar. Israel's response, a raid, killing 20 destroys Khalil's home. Will never give us justice, he says, bandaged in a clinic. In Tunis, Amina, 30, a PLO aide, coordinates support for Oslo, sending $10 million to UNLU, per declassified reports. Hamas's violence risks everything, she tells her colleague Ziad. Arafat, meeting Clinton's envoy, Dennis Ross, vows to curb attacks. Per U.S. records, but Hamas's rise 20,000 supporters by 1993 threatens unity. Amina, reading Khalil's leaflets, fears, we're fighting ourselves. In Jerusalem, Noah faces a protest, 2,000 Palestinians throwing stones. She fires tear gas, her heart heavy as a girl falls. This isn't security, she tells Gideon, questioning Oslo's promise. Daniel, at a Peace Now meeting, argues Oslo's our only hope. The Accords, finalized in August 1993, create the PA, with elections planned for 1994, per Oslo I text. The handshake that shook the world. Washington, D.C., September 13, 1993. The White House lawn gleams under a September sun as President Bill Clinton, 47, hosts the Oslo I signing. Rabina and Arafat, flanked by Abbas and Peres, face a crowd of 3,000 per U.S. records. Amal, watching on a Ramallah TV, grips Bassem's hand as Arafat and Kafia shakes Rabin's hand. This is our peace, she whispers, tears falling. The Accords grant the PA control over Gaza and Jericho, with Israel withdrawing by 1994, per the agreement. Clinton beams, saying a new era begins, per transcripts. In Jerusalem, Noah watches with Gideon, her rifle idol. They shook hands, she says, stunned. Rabin, addressing the crowd, says, enough blood per speeches. Likud protests, 10,000 strong, call it treason, per Haaretz. Daniel, at a Tel Aviv rally, cheers, this is our future. Noah, skeptical, replies, if Hamas agrees. In Gaza, Khalil scoffs at the TV, throwing a stone at the screen. Arafat sold us out, he tells Omar, joining a Hamas protest, 15,000 strong. Yassin's sermon vows, no peace with occupiers. Hamas's bombing in Hebron, killing 2 Israelis, per IDF reports, underscores the divide. Amal, covering the protest, writes Oslo's hope battles, Hamas's rage. Tunis, Tunisia, September 1993, Amina, in Arafat's office, prepares for his Gaza return. It's planned for 1994. Oslo's our foothold, she tells Zayed, packing PA documents. The Accords, granting the PA control over 20% of the West Bank, spark hope. But Hamas's attacks 20 Israeli deaths in 1993 threaten progress. Arafat, meeting Clinton in Cairo, secures $500 million in U.S. aid per State Department records. We'll build a state, he says, but Amina worries, Hamas won't let us. In Ramallah, Bassam organizes a celebration, 5,000 chanting for peace. Amal interviews a mother whose son died in the Intifada. Oslo's for him, she says, tearful. But settlers, now 120,000 in the territories per Batslam protest. Seizing 1,000 acres in 1993, Amal writes, "Peace walks a razor's edge. The fragile dawn, Jerusalem, Israel." October 1993, Noah patrols a West Bank checkpoint, her eyes on Palestinian workers waiting for PA jobs. Oslo's promise elections withdrawal stirs hope, but violence persists. Hamas bombing in Jericho kills 3, per IDF logs. Noah, aiding the wounded, mutters, "This isn't peace." Rabin, facing Knesset opposition, pushes Oslo forward, per records. "We chose dialogue," he says, securing 61 votes for ratification. Daniel, teaching in Tel Aviv, organizes a peace seminar. 200 students discussing Oslo. "It's a start," he tells Noah, who nods, her doubts easing. Polls show 70% Israeli support, per Jerusalem Post. But settler protests 15,000 in Hebron threaten stability. They'll fight to keep every inch, Noah warns. Gaza, November 1993, in Joblia Halil, joins a Hamas raid, attacking an IDF post, wounding 5 soldiers. Israel's response strikes, killing 30, destroys a mosque. Khalil, hiding in rubble, vows no surrender. Rania, 35, a nurse treating survivors, pleads, "Stop the bombs." Hamas's attacks, killing 25 Israelis by 1993, per Horitz, challenge Oslo's viability. Amal, in Ramallah, covers the PAS formation, with 2,000 police trained, per Oslo records. "We're building something," she tells Bassam. But settler violence in Palestinians killed in 1993 casts a shadow. The Intifada's legacy, 1,000 Palestinian deaths, fuels both hope and distrust. Washington, D.C., December 1993, Michael Reed, U.S. diplomat, meets Clinton to discuss Oslo's implementation. "It's fragile," he says, per memos. The U.S. pledges $2 billion to the PA in Israel, per State Department records, cementing its role as mediator. Global support grows 50 countries recognize the PA, per UN reports. Read watching Arafat's speech, notes, "They're a voice now." In Tunis, Amina prepares for Arafat's Gaza return. "Oslo's our path," she tells Ziad. But Hamas's rise, 25,000 supporters looms. The eyes. In Ramallah, Amal writes, "Peace is a seed, but the soil is blood-soaked, a hope tested." By 1993, the Oslo Accords have birthed the PA, withdrawn Israel from Gaza and Jericho, and sparked global hope, with $3 billion in aid pledged, per World Bank. But Hamas's bombings, 30 Israeli. This death sand settler expansion threaten the fragile peace. Noah in Jerusalem joins a peace march, hoping for calm. Amal in Ramallah dreams of statehood, her pen steady. Khalil in Gaza sharpens his resolve, rejecting Oslo. Amina in Tunis plans the PA's future, her faith tested. The Oslo Accords, a handshake born of exhaustion and courage, offer a path to peace, but face a gauntlet of violence and distrust. This is a story of fragile hope, bold risks, and a land where peace teeters on the edge of a knife. Oslo's fragile dawn, 1993-1995. A promise under siege, the Middle East. 1993, the Oslo Accords, sealed with a historic handshake between Yitzhak Rabin and Yasser Arafat, have ignited a flicker of hope in a land scarred by the first Intifada 1,000 deaths and decades of conflict. The Palestinian Authority PA begins to take shape, promising self-rule in Gaza and Jericho, while Israel pledges phased withdrawals. Yet the ink on the accords is barely dry when violence erupts. Hamas bombs, settler attacks, and internal dissent threaten to unravel the fragile peace. As the world watches, the Gulf War's aftermath and U.S. mediation fuel optimism. But the road to peace is littered with obstacles. This is the story of Oslo's aftermath, a tale of hope tested by blood, ambition tempered by betrayal, and a land caught between dreams of peace and the pull of war. The birth of the Palestinian Authority, Gaza City, Gaza, July 1994. The sun scorches Gaza's Jabalia camp, where dust swirls around concrete shacks housing 70,000 Palestinians. Reem, 27, a social worker and photo supporter, navigates the crowded alleys, her bag heavy with PA registration forms. The Oslo Accords, signed in 1993, have birthed the Palestinian Authority, granting limited self-rule in Gaza and Jericho, per the Gaza-Jericho Agreement. Reem's uncle Jamal, 52, a former PLO fighter, returned from Tunis to join the PA's new police force, 2,000 strong, per Oslo records. "This is our first step to statehood," he tells Reem, his keffiyeh damp with sweat, as they distribute aid from $500 million in U.S. funds, per World Bank reports. Yasser Arafat's return to Gaza on July 1, 1994, draws 100,000 cheering Palestinians, per Al Jazeera. Reem at the rally feels her heart swell as Arafat declares, "We are home," per speeches. But Hamas, with 25,000 supporters, rejects Oslo, its leaflets calling it surrender. Per translations, Reem's cousin Sami, 19, drawn to Hamas's charity, scoffs Arafat's "sold our land." A Hamas bombing in Tel Aviv, killing 5 per Haaretz, overshadows the PA's formation. Reem, helping victims, whispers, "This isn't freedom." In Ramallah, Reem meets a PA official, Fatima, 40, training administrators. "We're building a government," Fatima says, showing Reem plans for elections in 1996, per Oslo Eye. But settler expansion, 130,000 Israelis in 120 settlements. Per Botslam seizes 2,000 acres in 1994, fueling anger. Reem writes in her journal, "Oslo's hope fights a rising tide of hate." Jerusalem, Israel, August 1994. In Jerusalem's government district, Captain Leora Stein, 31, an IDF logistics officer, oversees the withdrawal from Jericho, per Oslo's terms. The redeployment of 5,000 troops, per IDF logs, feels surreal to Leora, who lost a comrade in the Intifada, or giving up land. She tells her deputy Ari, watching PA police take over. Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin, pushing Oslo despite Likud protests, tells the Knesset, "Peace requires sacrifice," per records. Polls show 65% Israeli support, per Yediot Aronet, but settler rallies, 20,000 strong. Chant Rabin's "a traitor," per Haaretz. Leora's sister Naomi, 36, a Peace Now organizer, attends a Tel Aviv rally, 30,000 demanding Oslo's success. "This is our chance," Naomi tells Leora, handing her a petition. Leora, skeptical, replies, "Hamas's bombs don't want peace." A Hamas attack in Jerusalem, killing 3, per IDF reports, hardens her doubts. Rabin, meeting Clinton's envoy Dennis Ross, secures $3 billion in U.S. aid, per State Department records, to bolster security. Leora, patrolling a checkpoint, sees Palestinian workers with PA permits and wonders, can this hold? Oh. In Gaza, Reem faces a Hamas protest, 10,000 strong, led by Sheikh Ahmed Yassin. "Oslo's a lie," Sami shouts, throwing a stone at PA police. Reem, dodging debris, pleads, "We're building something." But the violence, 15 Palestinian deaths and clashes, threatens the PA's fragile start. Oslo II and growing tensions. Taba, Egypt, September 1995. The Red Sea breeze cools the Taba resort, where Israeli and Palestinian negotiators draft Oslo II. Signed on September 28, 1995, per official texts. The agreement divides the West Bank into areas A, B, and C, granting the PA control over 3% of the land, per Batslam. Reem, covering the talks for a paper, interviews PLO negotiator Sebi Rikit. "This is incremental," he says, "but it's progress." The PA now governs 450,000 Palestinians in urban centers, while Israel retains 60% of the West Bank. In Jerusalem, Rabin faces a divided cabinet. "We're giving them a state." Ariel Sharon fumes, per Knesset minutes. Rabin, resolute, replies, "We're ending the conflict." Leora, redeploying troops from Bethlehem, feels the weight of change. Pulling back, she tells Ari, watching PA flags rise. But settler attacks 5 Palestinians killed in Hebron, per UN reports, escalate tensions. Naomi, at a Peace Now rally, 25,000 strong, chants peace now. But Likud counter-protests, 15,000 calling Rabin traitor per Haaretz. In Gaza, Sami joins a Hamas bombing in Ramallah, killing 4 Israelis, per IDF logs. Oslo's chains, he tells Yazin, who nods. Reem treating victims, cries, this tears us apart. The PA arrests 200 Hamas members per Palestinian records, but Sami escapes, vowing no peace with occupiers. Washington, D.C., October 1995, in a State Department office. Diplomat Sarah Cohen, 33, reviews Oslo E's implementation with Dennis Ross. It's fragile but groundbreaking, she says, per memos. The U.S. pledges $2.5 billion to the PA in Israel, per World Bank, cementing its mediator role. Clinton, hosting Rabin and Arafat, says peace is within reach, per transcripts. Sarah, watching notes. Hamas and settlers are the wild cards. In Ramallah, Reem reports on PA elections. It's planned for 1996. We'll vote for our future, she tells Fatima, who trains 5,000 PA officials, per Oslo records. But settler land seizures 3,000 acres in 1995 spark protests, 5,000 strong, per Al Jazeera. Reem, covering a clash, is tear-gassed, her notebook soaked. Oslo's promise is drowning, she writes. In Jerusalem, Leora faces a settler protest, 2,000 blocking roads. You're giving away Judea, a settler shouts. Leora, restraining them, mutters, this isn't peace. Naomi, at a seminar, tells students, Oslo's our hope, but it's fragile. Polls show 60% Israeli support, but violence, 20 Israeli deaths in 1995, threatens collapse. Oslo II, and growing tensions, Taba, Egypt. September 1995, the Red Sea breeze cools the Taba resort, where Israeli and Palestinian negotiators draft Oslo II. Signed on September 28, 1995, per official texts. The agreement divides the West Bank into areas A, B, and C, granting the PA control over 3% of the land per Batzlam. Reem, covering the talks for her paper, interviews PLO negotiator Seb Irike. This is incremental, he says, but it's progress. The PA now governs 450,000 Palestinians in urban centers, while Israel retains 60% of the West Bank. In Jerusalem, Rabin faces a divided cabinet. We're giving them a state. Ariel Sharon fumes per Knesset minutes. Rabin, resolute, replies, we're ending the conflict. Leora, redeploying troops from Bethlehem, feels the weight of change. Pulling back, she tells Ari, watching PA flags rise. But settler attacks 5 Palestinians killed in Hebron, per UN reports, escalate tensions. Naomi, at a Peace Now rally, 25,000 strong, chants peace now. But Likud counter-protests, 15,000 calling Rabin traitor per Haaretz. In Gaza, Sami joins a Hamas bombing in Ramallah, killing 4 Israelis, per IDF logs. Oslo's chains, he tells Yassin, who nods. Reem, treating victims, cries, this tears us apart. The PA arrests 200 Hamas members per Palestinian records, but Sami escapes, vowing no peace with occupiers. Washington, D.C., October 1995, in a State Department office. Diplomat Sarah Cohen, 33, reviews Oslo E's implementation with Dennis Ross. It's fragile but groundbreaking, she says, per memos. The U.S. pledges $2.5 billion to the PA in Israel, per World Bank, cementing its mediator role. Clinton, hosting Rabin and Arafat, says peace is within reach, per transcripts. Sarah, watching notes. Hamas and settlers are the wild cards. In Ramallah, Reem reports on PA elections. It's planned for 1996. We'll vote for our future, she tells Fatima, who trains 5,000 PA officials, per Oslo records. But settler land seizures 3,000 acres in 1995 spark protests, 5,000 strong, per Al Jazeera. Reem, covering a clash, is tear-gassed, her notebook soaked. Oslo's promise is drowning, she writes. In Jerusalem, Leora faces a settler protest, 2,000 blocking roads. You're giving away Judea, a settler shouts. Leora, restraining them, mutters, this isn't peace. Naomi, at a seminar, tells students, Oslo's our hope, but it's fragile. Polls show 60% Israeli support, but violence 20 Israeli deaths in 1995 threatens collapse. The shadow of violence Gaza, January 1995 in Gaza's Shadi camp. Sami plans a Hamas suicide bombing, his heart hardened by Oslo's betrayal. They're selling our land, he tells Omar, 20, rigging a vest. The attack in Netanyahu, killing 21 Israelis on January 22nd, per Haaretz, shocks the region. Reem, aiding victims, weeps. This isn't jihad. The PA under Arafat cracks down, arresting 300 Hamas members per Palestinian records. Sami, hiding vows, will fight on. In Jerusalem, Liora responds to the bombing, her unit securing the site. Hamas wants war, she tells Ari, her hands shaking. Rabin, meeting Clinton, pledges stronger security per U.S. records. We won't let terror win, he says. But settler attacks stand Palestinians killed in 1995 fuel the cycle. Liora, guarding a Hebron settlement, sees a Palestinian farmer beaten. This isn't right, she tells Ari, her faith in Oslo wavering. In Ramallah, Reem covers a funeral for a Hamas victim. 3,000 mourning. Oslo gave us hope, but blood buries it, she writes. Fatima, organizing PA police, says, we must stop Hamas. But the PA's arrests spark clashes, killing 15 Palestinians, per UN reports. Reem Torn asks, can we govern through force? Hebron, West Bank, February 1995, in Hebron. Settler Baruch Goldstein massacres 29 Palestinians at the Ibrahimi Mosque on February 25, 1994, per Batslum, inflaming tensions. Reem reporting sees the blood-soaked mosque, her stomach churning. This is Oslo's cost, she tells Jamal, who nods, his faith shaken. The PA bans settlers from Hebron Center, but 7,000 remain, seizing 1,500 acres per UN reports. Liora, stationed in Hebron, faces a Palestinian protest, 5,000 strong. Murderers. They chant, stones flying. Liora orders tear gas, her heart heavy as a boy falls, refueling their hate, she tells Ari. Naomi at a peace now rally in Tel Aviv, 40,000 strong, demands settler accountability. Goldstein's act kills Oslo, she says. Per Haaretz, Rabin, condemning the massacre, bans Goldstein's catch movement per Knesset records, but settler violence persists. In Tunis, Arafat meets Clinton, securing $1 billion more in aid per State Department records. We'll build despite the chaos, he tells Fatima, who joins him. But Hamas's retaliation, Israeli deaths in March, threatens the PAS legitimacy. Fatima says, Rabin's assassination. Tel Aviv. Israel, November 4th, 1995. The night air in Tel Aviv is electric as Rabin addresses a peace rally, 100,000 strong, in Kings of Israel Square, per Haaretz. Naomi, in the crowd, cheers, peace is stronger than hate. Rabin, 73, speaks, I fought wars so we could have peace, per speeches. Liora, on security duty, scans the crowd, her rifle light compared to her hope. He's our chance, she tells Ari, watching Rabin sing Shir LaShalom. As Rabin leaves, Yagala Mira, a 25-year-old settler, shoots him 3 times per police reports. Liora, rushing to Rabin, sees blood pool on the pavement. No. Oh. She screams, helping medics. Robin dies at 9:30 p.m., per hospital records, shaking Israel. Naomi, sobbing, tells the crowd, they've killed our hope. Polls show 80% Israeli grief, per Yediot Aronot, but Likud rallies. 10,000 strong, celebrate Amir, per Haaretz. In Ramallah, Reem watches the news, stunned. Abin was their best, she tells Jamal, who nods. Now what? Depia, under Arafat, condemns the assassination. But Hamas's attacks 5 more Israeli deaths in November exploit the chaos. Reem writes, Oslo's heart is bleeding. Washington, D.C., November 1995, Sarah, at the State Department, reads reports of Robin's death, her hands trembling. This changes everything, she tells Ross, per memos. Clinton, addressing the nation, calls Rabin a martyr for peace, per transcripts. Is pledging $3 billion to Israel and the PA. Shimon Peres, interim prime minister, vows to continue Oslo, per Knesset records. But Likud's rise, led by Benjamin Netanyahu, threatens progress. In Gaza, Sami joins a Hamas rally, 20,000 strong, chanting Oslo's dead. Yassan's sermon fuels violence. A bombing in Jerusalem kills 7 per IDF logs. Reem, covering the aftermath, pleads, "Stop the cycle." But Sami, unyielding, says, "This is our fight." The PAS crackdown arrests 500 Hamas members, per Palestinian records. But violence surges. In Jerusalem, Leora, grieving Rabin, joins a Peace Now vigil, 50,000 strong. "We can't let his death end this," she tells Naomi, lighting a candle. But settler protests 15,000 in Hebron demand Oslo's end, seizing 2,000 acres per Batslem. The extremists are winning, Leora fears. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. A dream-deferred Ramallah West Bank. December 1995, Reem organizes a PA voter registration drive. It's 1 million Palestinians eligible for 1996 elections per Oslo 2. "This is our state," she tells Fatima. Trains 10,000 PA officials. But Hamas's bombings, 30 Israeli deaths in 1995, Road Trust. A PA raid arrests Sami, who spits your Israel's puppets. Reem, visiting him in jail, pleads, "We're building for you." Sami turns away, his faith in Hamas unshaken. In Hebron, settler attacks kill 7 Palestinians, per UN reports, as 140,000 settlers expand, per Batslem. Reem, covering a protest, is tear-gassed, her hope fading. "Oslo's crumbling," she writes, as PA police clash with Hamas, killing 10, per Al Jazeera. Arafat, meeting pairs, vows, "We'll fight terror," per records. But the PA's weakness frustrates Reem. "We need power, not promises," she tells Jamal. Tel Aviv, Israel. January 1996, Leora, on leave, joins a Peace Now rally. Nate, 60,000 mourning Rabin. His dream lives, Naomi tells the crowd. But Netanyahu's campaign, gaining 40% in polls, per Jerusalem Post, threatens Oslo. Leora, patrolling a checkpoint, sees Palestinian workers with PA jobs, her heart torn. "They want peace too," she tells Ari. But a Hamas bombing in Tel Aviv, killing 10 per IDF logs, hardens public mood. "Oslo's failing," Ari says. Pairs struggling, approves 5,000 new settler homes per Batslem, alienating Palestinians. Naomi, protesting in Jerusalem, 20,000 strong, warns, "This buries peace." Leora, guarding settlers, feels trapped. "We're all losing," she says, her rifle heavy. Washington, D.C., February 1996, Sarah meets Clinton, reviewing Oslo's faltering progress. Rabin's death opened the floodgates, she says, per memos. The U.S. pledges $1 billion more to the PA, per World Bank, but Hamas's attacks, 50 Israeli deaths in 1995, undermine support. Clinton, meeting pairs, urges, "Hold the line," per transcripts. Global recognition grows, 60 countries back the PA, per UN reports, but violence overshadows gains. In Tunis, Fatima prepares for elections, her hope dimming. "Hamas and settlers are strangling us," she tells Reem, visiting. In Ramallah, Reem writes, "Oslo's a flame in a storm." The Intifada's legacy, 1,200 Palestinian deaths, fuels both hope and rage. A peace on the brink. By 1996, Oslo has birthed the PA, withdrawn Israel from Gaza and parts of the West Bank, and secured $5 billion in global aid, per World Bank. But Hamas's bombings, 60 Israeli deaths and settler expansion, 150,000 settlers by 1996, threaten collapse. Rabin's assassination, killing Israel's peace champion, empowers hardliners like Netanyahu, elected in 1996 with 50% of the vote, per Israeli records. Leora, in Jerusalem, joins Peace Now, vowing Rabin's dream isn't dead. Reem in Ramallah registers voters, her pen steady. Sami, in prison, clings to Hamas's fight. Dama, in Tunis, plans the PA's future, her faith tested. Oslo's aftermath, a tapestry of hope and blood, offers a path to peace, but faces relentless violence and distrust. This is a story of a dream deferred, a people's resilience, and a land where peace hangs by a thread, waiting for the next chapter.
From 1987 to 1995, the First Intifada and Oslo Accords wove courage, compromise, and heartbreak, Palestinian youth defied occupation while Israel faced boycotts and violence. Oslo offered fragile hope, yet Hamas attacks, settler violence, and Rabin's assassination tore at it. Like, subscribe, hit the bell, and follow the deep chapter. See you in Chapter 8, where the Second Intifada and new struggles await.